Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the very first episode of Travis Told You. Oh my goodness, what a day. Been talking about it. We've been talking about this for like a year now, because I almost did in January, almost did it once with some other time off, but now I'm off for a glorious 5 weeks now. Who knows? Right now you hear music right now. Very generic StreamYard music, but that was to give me some time. Tweet out links, all the good jazz and things like that, because this is the first time, I've done this many times alone and stuff like that. Let's kill the music. There we go. And I don't even have the power. Excuse me. I don't even have the power to give like a nice transition out of the music. We'll work on that. Maybe I will. I didn't even think about that. I usually have music, and I thought, I'll use the GeekVerse music, but I'm like, no, that comes with the video of everybody. I can't be doing that. But yes, this is the first episode of Travis Told You. This is going to be happening now. Funny enough, but usually it's going to be happening for people watching live Monday to Thursday, 3 p.m. PST. Of course, today, debut episodes. Things come up, go and see Superpets with the kids, all these things coming up, I go, okay, I got to go a little earlier. So that's why it's earlier today. But the reason I've picked 3 is just because it's a kind of good, it's a good balance of usually now, I guarantee you watch, I'm going to do this. And at 5 p.m., the biggest, they're going to cast fucking Wolverine. But that's why I'll be here tomorrow. And as usual, nothing changes. You're going to be getting retrospectives. You're going to be getting a weekly newscast. I think what the goal is here is so every Monday, Thursday, I'm going to be on here. And if something massive breaks on a Thursday, then sure. Or on a Friday, sure, I'll be here. But that's the plan, Monday to Thursday, because Fridays might have some big reviews, stuff like that. I guess there's not really big reviews. But still, just in case, one day, give myself the day. There's a couple times where I'm out of town on that time. So, okay, Monday, Thursday, that works. But we'll be doing newscasts and stuff like that with everybody. So I'm going to be covering some topics that I won't even cover on Geek. Like you can see down below, I'm going to be talking about Summerslam. Don't worry, people. That's the very last thing. I know I got some wrestling people in here, but I punted that to the end because I know it's the smallest group there. But I got some stuff to talk about. I want to talk about the Vince McMahon stuff last, I think, week and a half that broke during Comic-Con. So it was a busy time. But I'll be covering topics, some topics that would only be Travis specific, or some topics that are Geek First Center. Now you might be like, oh man, if you're talking about Andor today, like, am I going to get to hear Taylor's thoughts and everything like that? Yes, you will. So the biggest stuff we will still do on the newscast, and either I won't be on that, or my goal is because I'm off, I'm going to be on it, and I'll just be, I'm going to have my opinions and ask some things, because if Taylor, Dylan, and Kirklin are talking, I'm sure they're going to bring up something new, but I'll be acting more as a host that time. But yeah, trying it out. We've talked about this a few times, so I'm going to be doing this for the next 5 weeks. The last 2 weeks plans may change because that's when the lady Emily goes back to work, which I'm excited to talk about Emily in a second because I get to promote something she's doing for the podcast. But she'll be back to work, so times may change. We'll see. I'm looking into that, but the first 3 weeks are like that, and then I'll be doing these shows. So yeah, I'm excited. Lots of fun. Reason this is because and Espa's right here at 5 p.m. They announced Smash Bros. 6. Yeah, I would with MCU and DCU and Star Wars characters, the biggest thing in the world. But no, speaking of video games, same thing as usual. Side quests you're getting Tuesdays, retrospectives, reviews. What do we got? We got Bullet Train. We actually got an early screening of Bullet Train. We're seeing tomorrow, so that's exciting. And I think that might be the first time Taylor Summer that me, Kirklin, and Taylor have seen a movie all together because they're only having one screening, one theater. So gonna be a good time, and that's why you head over to Patreon. Can you get the entire schedule what we're doing? I don't think it's this week or next week, but one of the weeks there's like 13 casts dropping, and there's only 7 days in the week. So we are pumping out the content. That's because all you listeners, and most importantly, the patrons. I'm going to try my best to do these buttons and whatnot, because usually Kirkland now has support us, but boom, I can do the Patreon. Nice little banner there while I'm talking. So I'll try my best. I'll try to pick some natural breaks when I get water. Right now it's warm, so usually I can sneak them in, but I might get a little bit more dehydrated. But yeah, Patreon, that's the best way to support us. Thank you to everyone that is on Patreon right now. Last month was our biggest month. The month before that was our biggest month as well, and we really appreciate it. And kind of, in favor of that, we got some good things coming next. I'll look into it. I think it's the 13th or 14th, 2 weeks from now. It's a Saturday after 9. I think it's a morning edition. I will get back to you, listeners. But give back that way. You got the originals, and then most importantly, now we're doing a little special here because usually the bread and butter that's the big top tier thing. That's the one where that's the biggest tier, or the second, what is it, third biggest tier, because most of them you get the exclusive episodes, but there's one other. But bread and butter this year, or I guess first time ever, starring the GV ladies. It's calling it our Better Halves episode, and it's my significant other Emily, Taylor's wife Madison, Kirklin's girlfriend Shay and Dylan Musk's girlfriend Muds, and they have podcast together for the first time ever. I think Madison and Emily have done some stuff with the charity stream, but never a podcast. So, and I was pretty impressed with them. They went an hour and a half just by themselves. Like usually that's what we're doing, but they went an hour and a half, and that will be dropping for you patrons in the next 24 hours. And usually that's at like the phase 3 $10 tier. We're dropping that for every patron at the phase 2 and up point who gets the exclusive stuff like that, just because that's a fun one and people are sending questions. So looking forward to that. And yeah, lots of stuff going on. We're reviewing tons of things, movies, TV shows, video games, lots of stuff. So I was very happy. It's like a gift from the, I don't know, podcast gods that first day I'm doing this, they give me a big, juicy main topic. So, excuse me. So the good thing is we got something to talk about. We actually have a few things, some rumors, some box office stuff like that. And that's usually what I'm going to do every Monday is I'm definitely going to be talking box office. And then I'm kind of talk some just general topics. And then if I run out of nothing, I'll lean on you listeners and patrons. And then I will dive into the BS meter myself, maybe. So this is experimental. We're trying for the first time. Like I said, I'm off, so I'm ready to have some fun. This show can work very similar to Thought Bubbles if you're around in that area. I just renamed it Travis Told You because it's become kind of a meme now. It's like, well, I got to do that. So Andor, let's talk about that. So we got a new trailer today. Andor is now coming out. We'll talk about these things before we get into the actual trailer. So it is now coming out September 21st. It was originally coming out, I think it was August 18th or something. It was the third week of She-Hulk. Oh no, maybe it was 20th or something like that. But it was originally coming out the third week of She-Hulk. So there will be some small overlap, but not as much. I think it's only the finale or maybe a couple episodes. So there's gonna be a little overlap. Not exactly sure why they changed it, other than maybe the overlap's a good idea because they want to spread out the content. Now, here's the other kicker. So I had originally, because we have a GeekVerse calendar now just to keep track of what's happening, everything. And they had put out that they were releasing 2 episodes premiere day. Now, this is a 12 episode series. They're releasing 12 or they're releasing 2, but now they've moved it to September 21st. So, okay, sure. Doesn't really impact me either way. Like, I'm excited for Andor, but I'm not somebody that woke up pretty disappointed this morning that thing they were getting Andor this month. I will say we'll get into the trailer. Looks a lot better, and I'm just gonna give my thoughts on trailer because stuff like the breakdown. I want to save that for when I got Taylor Field on here and he'll pause. Oh, look at this! This little rock meant that the Jedi came here before. I don't know what that would be, but alas, we'll save it for that. So the date change doesn't matter to me. 3 episode premiere. So really now you take that out. And after that, you got what, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. You got 8 weeks. So about 2 more weeks than you usually do. And I guess 9 for the first additional 3 dropping, but still. So 3, that's a lot. I'm surprised. Thank you, Fanboy Clay, who I hope you're feeling better. August 31st. So there you go. So almost a full month minus 10 days, but 3 episodes. Now, maybe if the episodes are smaller, like Mano style, because remember Mandalorian, I think it was episode 2, season 1, where it had that Jawa episode, and it was close to being like just under 30 minutes, like 27, like taking out the credits, of course. So if they have a couple of those, I see. If they're like those early Obi-Wan lengths of full 3 hours, don't get me wrong, I'll watch it. I'm somebody that for lifestyle, not podcast purposes or not the world or even a business, I understand why they do weekly, but lifestyle, I like binge because I can get it done with and move on. We've talked about this before where I'll forget about stuff. Like, oh, I got to watch that and I got to watch this. So sure, 3 episodes, that works for me. Happy about that. Why are they doing it? I don't know. They should spread the content out. They've already said that you are going to be getting Mandalorian next year. You got What If that's coming early next year. I thought it was this year, but I learned last time that it was gone. SPUP says 4 a.m. review. No, we have talked about that. We will not be doing that because She-Hulk's still around. So She-Hulk's our midnight one because, but breaking the fourth wall. I think we're a bit more excited for that. And honestly, as from a business standpoint, this is why I feel like this is why sometimes people just like the solo cast because they get juice out of me. But hashtag juice. It's the one that we think will probably do better. Like there'll be a bit more shocking stuff in there, like a Daredevil, like other cameos. So usually the midnight ones, we kind of go, okay, what what news do we want to come out as far as like, let's say they showed Daredevil, right? But in the world where Daredevil wasn't announced, it's like, okay, we want that to come out, then we'll be live right away. It's there in the morning. Andor, I'm sure is going to have surprises, sure going to have great episodes, and we would be doing them at midnight if it wasn't for She-Hulk. And when She-Hulk's done, we'll take over. So, or She-Hulk will, or Andor will take over. We won't take over. It's our own fucking podcast. Unless it's a hostile takeover and someone's bought us out and something bad has happened. But yeah, I don't know why they're doing it. There's I was talking about with Katie and Clay that you got Tales of the Jedi, but that could be pushed because it's not on the coming soon list. You got Bad Batch coming out, so I don't think Bad Batch like that really didn't make much of a wave. So, and even then, just release Bad Batch on a different day if you didn't want 2 stars on the same day. I don't know. I'm fine with it, but yeah, that's what we're gonna be doing. Just a massive, big 1 to 3 and everything like that. So. Yeah, I'm excited for. Well, here's the thing: I'm excited for always new Star Wars stuff, but I'm actually generally excited about this trailer. And I see Jay Houghton. Thank you very much. I will address that when we get to the Punisher stuff. But I'm actually very excited. The first trailer I remember it came out, and I was away, and then we did a newscast, and it was oh, what was that? Was that Star? It was Star Celebration, right? And everyone really loved it, and I just liked it. I didn't dislike it. I was like, yeah, okay, this seems like a solid show. But everyone was talking about like it was the second coming of podcast Jesus, you know? And I was like, I didn't see enough to sell me. This trailer, oh, this had it. First of all, I don't know if it's gonna be the same as the show, but the score in this trailer or just the music, because like I said, it might just be for the trailer. My God, it's like I know where Andor and I know where all the story goes and what the result is, but I was feeling intense. I was like, okay, here we go. This is giving me like the American vibes. Now it's not that same showrunner anymore, but just that thriller. Don't trust anybody. What's gonna happen? So that was a big positive as far as one, just for the trailer, right? A second one that I keep forgetting he's in here. I don't know why. I really like the actor. Everybody else looked good and everything like that. But the actor I keep forgetting is in here is Stellen Skarsgard. I really like Stellen Skarsgard, especially when he's serious. Watch, I feel like I guess I could spoil it. I'll say that, okay, Girl with the Dragon Tattoo that came out a few years ago, right? Stellan Skarsgård is in that. He has like a turn where he gets a bit more villainous and stuff like that. And he's scary. He's just like, and he's not a big opposing guy. Like, yeah, he maybe has like a maybe scarier face sometimes, but like, he's not a big opposing guy. He's not super tall. But his combination of that voice and what he can do with his eyes, man. I even remember in Pirates of the Caribbean when he when he was Bootstrap Bill and he was like nice, but when the ship started to take him over and he got evil, I was like, damn, like he can go. And I love Stellan Skarsgård, and it looks like he's going to be in here a lot. I don't know exactly what's going on with him because we see different versions. Now I'm not going to say, oh, it's twins, but we see him with short hair and we see him with long hair. I'm thinking that he was maybe similar to that character in Obi-Wan where he was with the Empire at one point and switched over because maybe he didn't think the Empire was going to go as rough or bad as it did. He thought this was the time. So we'll see. I don't really care because Stellan Skarsgård and anything, just that improves it. You could put him on the fucking Wiggles and be like, man, the Wiggles just went up a notch, you know? So Stellan Skarsgård, that's another thing I take away from this trailer. The other thing as far as we didn't know, and this is where Lucasfilm, you know, they have leaks, but they somehow still have a lot better secrecy than Marvel. Forrest Whitaker is back. That's something Taylor's gonna be excited to see. Saw Gerrera, right? I like Forrest Whitaker. I didn't mind the character in Rogue One, which I didn't mind that movie at all. I liked the movie. I think it's a well-made movie. I think it's overrated in general, but with Saw Gerrera, I did not like the way Forrest Whitaker played him. Now that's when he's like the beaten down, like you will, you know, like that whole he has the voice thing, he has the cane. This more looks, you know, he's in the real thick of it. He's always in the thick of it, Guerrero, but this feels like he is still kind of at a young, it's not a young man's game, but younger to the extent where something's happened to him between now and then. I think he looked to be in a lot better shape. He looked to be in actual fighting shape. So I don't know if he's going to be on some missions. I don't know what he's going to be doing. Forrest Whitaker can go. I just don't want him to have that take. And that could have been a directing take as well. I just thought the character was kind of goofy in Rogue One. I wasn't a fan of it. I thought he had some all right scenes with Jim Erso, but the voice, everything just didn't really work for me. And that's something where I'm not even the biggest Clone Wars fan, but I liked that character a lot more in animation than what we saw in live action, you know? So Espa says the crisp nullification of Andor. I don't know why, but I got those vibes 100%. And you know why you probably got those vibes is so the volume, right? It's so funny, the story of the volume where They use this for Mando, this new technology. Everyone's like, oh, this looks great. Look, it's not a CGI thing. And you hear the actors start talking about it. You're like, yeah, it's so much better. There's no green screen. You get to see something and visualize it and kind of get an idea. And all of us like, this is the best. The volume. This is the way. This is so much better than green screen. And yet, da 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 da. And then it's just turn around of like, oh, we're using the volume. You're like, oh, the volume. Now, I can't remember. Oh, it's a YouTube channel. There are a bunch of FX guys. I'm not sure if they're retired or currently working. It's a popular one, so I'm mad I'm forgetting the name, but I'm not subscribed or anything. Just clips always roll around, right? And they had a clip talking about how the volume is great, but like an overabundance of it might be too much. An overuse of it might be too much. I feel that's what's happening, especially more on the Disney side, because I feel the Batman, say what you will about the volume, the quarter crew. Thank you very much, S Bubs. And Family Guy says the animation to live action Phil saw is so different, but that's the point of war, I guess. It is, and I guess I'm fine with different. He just comes off as just very over the top acting. He feels like he's in a play and everyone else is like on a screen being filmed. Like a play, you're supposed to be over the top because you're being loud and you're projecting, and it's not even that he's loud. He's just I don't care for that character, so I hope there's a good middle ground there. But back to the volume, they used it in the Batman. I thought that was great. It was just the rooftop scenes. They gave them something. They filmed it in a way. Snyder is using it for Rebel Moon, which people are really excited for because the way he shoots, and I will always say this, whatever you feel about his films, him and his team, the cinematographers, he makes some beautiful looking movies. So I'm really excited how he uses it. It's just a question of, is it being used too much or is it being used by the wrong people, or kind of as a clutch of like, we'll just add that. And there's been some problems, and especially lots of people are saying this, and it made complete sense when Tony Gilroy said that. He said, yeah, we have no use to the volume. We're doing things the old school way. And that's why just the look of this trailer, man, it looked great. Not the content. The content looks fine, but like the actual just quality of the shots. And it just felt, honestly, this felt like a movie. This felt like this was a trailer for they made Andor the movie. And the other thing that helps is this has been filming for quite a while. I think this filmed before Obi-Wan, stuff like that. So obviously they were filming lots of episodes, but still, it's been filming for a while. So I think there's two things. One, the volume can be used, but if you can still try to be practical, let's try to go that route. That would be nice, especially you look at this trailer and look at Obi-Wan. And I'm a big fan of most of Obi-Wan, other than maybe the back half, but there's so many times where this is just a sound stage with the volume and they're trying their best to make it look like corners. Mando did the same thing. I didn't actually have a problem with it. Again, I'm going to be called MCU bias, but people said that about Loki, right? Remember that scene of him and Sylvie there on that planet was collapsing? I thought it worked, but tons of people were like, it didn't work for me. So in varying degrees, the volume has not worked out, and I think that the mix is good. And now that it's not in the mix, that it's just, obviously there's going to be CGI and some screen stuff like that, but the fact they tried to go as practical as possible, fantastic. It just feels lively. It doesn't feel like it's just a stage, and it doesn't feel like how Disney gets that reputation of being like the McDonald's of entertainment, just pushing stuff out there. I get it where the volume is helpful, but sometimes it just feels like, okay, we're just throw on the volume. Oh, we could shoot it, go to volume and stuff like that, So it looked gorgeous. It looked like a big budget. It had a big feel. So I was really impressed by everything in this trailer. I loved just the pacing of it. I love the dynamics. I love that Katie and Clay point out that there might be a character in there that's Chancellor of the Valorum who got voted out in Phantom Menace. I'm not as big as a politic fan as Star Wars as Taylor is. I'm more of I'm not like everybody else where I'm like all the Jedi and the Sith. Like that is my go-to, but it's just the politics in this age I don't care too much about, especially because we know where it goes. But I'm down. The Mon Mothma actress looks great and stuff like that. So I think it did a good job of. I feel like it's somebody who's other than loving Diego Luna, didn't need this show, wasn't a big fan of Andor. I'm sure there's some people that weren't sold, but I feel like this trailer sells the majority of people that want to like or be open to watching something with Star Wars, right? So I'm really excited. 12 episodes. I'm happy that we got this. We got Daredevil 18. I hope we get to, and I know WandaVision and She-Hulk had, what was it, 9? But that was because they even said, there's some episodes we kind of like split into a couple and things like that. So I am excited for the future of them playing with these times. And even if it's not, hey, now from now on, every Disney Plus show is 18. No, not that. Just, hey, what does this show need? What is it? what is it warrant as far as time and out? It has to be 6, whether it's that's too short or too long, you know? So let's go in the chat here. SPF says, I definitely think it's showing it has some specific uses for everything. It's noticeable. Mando still used practical locations. And it did. I think for me, it was always when they're in the towns. Like I remember it's the third episode when he returns Grogu of season 1. And then he goes back into the Tatooine town, and it's just him like turning these corners, but like they just look the same. Like everywhere he goes looks the same. But I imagine where they shot I think that was in the documentary where they shot the scene. It's in Shadow of the Sith. If Clay's in here, he'll tell me. But it's where Grogu had the foreseeing rock and he saw everything. They definitely use practical, and I think Mando has been pretty good. It's just definitely some of the Disney, like this later Disney stuff, and definitely Obi was the biggest thing. And I wish Obi got this treatment. You know, I'm happy it happened, but I just wish it was we're doing this the old school type of way. But you know, it is what it is. I'm fine with using it. I'm not trying to be. I think it's because we all loved it because it just was better than green screen, and it was also just like we want better performances out of actors, right? So when they're all telling us, "Hey, this works a lot better. I can visual like this. This gives me something to work off." Like, oh, absolutely. And to me, it was a no-brainer. Of like, if I could pick CGI, if I'm running away from a dragon and it's CGI green wall versus a dragon, that kind of works, especially if it's doing like similar movements like it actually will do in the film. The problem is if you change those things, that's where, you know, maybe like Thor Love and Thunder, it starts to bang against each other. But yeah, I'm excited to watch this with Taylor and Kirklin. I'll see if Dylan sticks around but I'm excited for Taylor to maybe point out some things. But yeah, this is the most excited I've been for it. Announcement I was not excited. Tython. Thank you very much, fanboy Clay. Not Tython. I'd love it if we had a show about Tython. Was not excited for the announcement, other than I love Diego Luna. He's very, very underrated actor, underappreciated, whatever you want to say. Really like him. Other than that, I was like, okay, this is just them making content. But this is the first I'm like, okay, I am here. I'm excited. It just looks very like grungy too and dirty, and I really liked that. So I'm hoping for a good thing. Let's see. Yeah, that was the Boba episode in season 2 of Grogu and the Rock was relocation, ended up leaking because people saw them filming. That makes a lot of sense. And maybe I know they might say that too, of like, hey, Travis. I'm like, oh yeah. And Lucasfilm looks at me and they go, hey, we're doing this to avoid spoilers. So I do get it. And hey, they've done a good job. It's just, at the end of the day, the spoiler, we all knew Toby and Andrew were going to be, and I'm not using this for visual effects. I'm saying we all know Toby and Andrew, of course you want the surprise, but we're going to be in that movie. The surprise is great, but what happens after is you have to follow up with good story and content, right? So the surprise can only get you so far. But let's see. I really think it really helped with the Batman and the building Gotham that it felt real, not overused, but used correctly. And yeah, like obviously they spend a lot of time at the bat signal, but it doesn't feel like too much. And there's a lot of just, I think it also does help that it's not them moving too much on it, right? It's like them on top of a building and they're just looking outside. It's not like the Loki thing where they're running and stuff is falling like an amusement park. So I think that helps. So yeah, we're going to take our first little ad break, and then we're going to be back with some Punisher rumors, which I'm a little surprised about. So we will be right back. And we're back. I got to use those ad breaks. I got to use them for water, you know? I got to use them. So anyway, so this is a minor story. This doesn't have much, well, there's not much weight to it. It's just, it was one simple statement from a scooper, right? And on the previous content, let's see, I think the volume should only be used for surprise cameos, which, okay, I could be down for that. But, so the Punisher, we've talked about this a few times where we're getting all these street heroes announced. We got Daredevil, we got Kristen Ritter rumored, or I guess Jessica Jones rumored for the Daredevil show, or Echo, I guess. You got Kingpin coming back, who's a street level villain. You got Echo, who's building up. Even Kate Bishop and Hawkeye to a point of view, right? So there was today, it was very early, but my time to shine. She is a scooper. She's somebody that, you know, gets a lot of shit because obviously she's always pushing NFTs and stuff like that. But as I've always said, whether they're selling stuff you don't like, whether they're an asshole, if they got a record, we report it and we talk about it, right? Even to the point of like a fucking Grace Randolph where it's like, she's usually wrong about 2 out of 10 times, but the problem is there's times where she's right and you're like, fuck. And that's why it's just to cover it, and you always specify it is a rumor. And this is just a pure one-word rumor. And Jay Howden, I'm going to get back to your Punisher comment after I set this up. But So we get all these street levels, right? And we had talked about this during the Marvel Comic-Con panel, where I think someone in the chat also brought up Punisher, and I thought no, and Chris was a big no, and I think everyone was a no, but especially just because like I'm not gonna get into it, but just recently you had this whole thing with the shooting in the school and the kids, right? And you had that. I'm not trying to be a downer, but just there was photos and videos of cops that were in the building not really doing much, acting cowardly. That's your fucking job. There's kids in there, go save them. I don't care if you don't like it. That's if you sign up to do it, that's what you gotta do. And someone zoomed on this guy's phone and he has a Punisher logo, right? And the Punisher logo has just been like appropriated for the worst type of shit, kind of douchebag people. Like, just the people that rock the Punisher logo are just, they're always the worst. It's just like almost, I think it's gone away, but it's almost like when you would walk up and you'd see people wearing the Affliction shirts that aren't affiliated with MMA and UFC, you're like, and not fans of it, you're like, fuck. You're like, you just know you're dealing with somebody. Sometimes, a lot of times, just like a white racist asshole, someone that's really right wing, because they look at the Frank Castle character and they take all the wrong thing from it. Even if you have comic book creators writing stuff of him taking down cops, being like, yeah, you're fucking pathetic, don't do what I'm doing. And me and Chris did a whole Marvel Alliance episode about this, right? There's so much baggage now with the Punisher logo. And even just the idea of, in Marvel right now, you have lots of heroes, right? And you do see guns, but guns are such a big conversation in America right now. And obviously it's like a Punisher can come on and be around the whole world, right? But with America, where this company's based, shootings, gun control, it's out of control. It's outrageous. It should have been dealt with years ago. The fact that, I don't want to get political. I want to have a fun time. But the fact that there's been so many shootings that it's not been stopped when there could be still steps to do it is unfathomable. And that's what's made me not want to live in the States. And this is where I get Disney. Sometimes I know people like, oh, they're being too fucking woke. They're not gonna cover Punisher, blah, blah, blah. It's just like, these are the parents getting mad at Deadpool being on Disney Plus, and you can see a guy getting pegged on there. Set up a fucking code and you won't see, that happen. You got Frank Castle, who is primarily a very gun-toting, gun-based character. Now, again, it's for the good guys. He's taking down scumbags, the worst of worst, right? But it is in a time where, same thing, like Kevlar, black leather, like lots of shooters have these type of looks and stuff. It's so touchy. And the same thing of like, even the Defender stuff, there's dark things, but even the sense of violence, because everyone always brings up Kingpin in the car door. The car door is not even shown. And I've talked about this with Brent and Chris, but me and Brent have shared. I think Brent was the first person I really met that, like, I was like, yes, because when Deadpool got announced, I was like, you could make this PG-13. Everyone's like, you fucking idiot, Deadpool's rated R. No, you go read comic books, it's usually not actually rated R. There's a few, like the Max lineups with Punisher, but you don't need to make Frank Castle completely R-rated. Is it preferred? Absolutely. I would prefer that. I think there's some, even Deadpool, I would prefer that. But you don't need that. But it's just still that essence he carries as far as, do you want Disney? And that's, I know people are going to say, like, I'm the parent, like, it's a safe space. But still, do you want, there's lots of shootings on, right? Unfortunately, there's tons of shootings, sometimes like daily happening in the States. Do you want a shooting to happen in your town? And, there's a new Marvel thing popping up. It's Daredevil, right? But then you just get an episode, and it's supposed to be connected to the MCU. I'm not talking about Marvel Zombies, that will be MA, or Deadpool. The things that are supposed to be PG-13 for all the MCU core fan base and families. Do you want that to, hey, you turn on and there's that joke, right? A Frank Castle brings you the Disney Channel. But do you want that? Do you want a guy with the minigun mowing people down? Now, you can, as a parent, will have that conversation. Hey, real life, different, it's still so tough with this character to do that. But, and to bring it all around, that's why I said, you're not going to see Frank Castle for a while, and if you do, it's as Cosmic Ghost Rider. Now, My Time to Shine, who has been against, she was the first person to put out there that Miss Marvel is going to be immune. She has a track record. I don't know, I'm not saying she's like 100%, but when she puts stuff out there, it's pretty reliable. She said that it was a gif of John Bernthal, and he's coming back. That's all it was, right? Who knows when, how? I imagine Daredevil. I imagine that's the prime spot. And we'll have to see what Daredevil's rated. I think PG-13. And it did surprise me. I thought they were going to wait a little bit. I honestly thought it would almost be like a real world thing where hopefully like assault rifles get fucking banned in the States. And then you could start bringing this character back when this carnage kind of goes down, right? And I get it, because Frank Castle will be the guy that will go after the shooter. But it's just the way people have taken it is very tough. Now, him coming back, Oof, I am surprised. I'm happy. I'm gonna get to some chats here, and then I'll talk more about John Bernthal because he is a perfect casting. I honestly put him like above a Downey as Iron Man or Deadpool or Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool. And I've said this before. Same reason why I put Margot Robbie above them because Ryan Reynolds was playing a heightened Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool. Robert Downey's playing a heightened Robert Downey as Iron Man. John Bernthal, listen to his podcast. He's not like that. Watch Margot Robbie in real life. She's not like Harley Quinn. They're like, and it takes what they do to act. I'm not saying it is perfect casting as far as you found a person like the role, but to pay an actor to do that, John Bernthal is one of those like a Hugh Jackman, one of those like to me a Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman, to me like a Heath Ledger as Joker. He's in that S tier prime thing, and I'd maybe even put like Ryan Reynolds in there, but there's just a difference, of a ranking that I would say, but. Jay, back to what you said earlier. I need Bernthal back ASAP, but only if it's a Netflix level Punisher, not Disneyfied. And that's what I'm talking about, right? Could you get that on Disney Plus? We got Deadpool going on now. We got Marvel Zombies. They are starting to tackle this stuff. And I think the best way to do it, and I guess I should refresh the chat here. I think the best way to do it is I don't know if they would swing for the fences, but they should, kind of like they did with Black Panther, and just when I was in the theater and Killmonger started to help out white people, like stealing things from communities and just taking advantage of them. I was shocked because this is an MCU Disney movie dealing with actual big race issues, and race is the defining feature or defining problem for this character to do what he's doing in Killmonger, right? I would love it if they were bold and that was like a subplot of the show, is finding these pieces of shit that think like, oh, the Punisher's great, like the bad people, and him just really like the cops, everybody really breaking it down. And I honestly think it's tough, right? Because parents and people right away say, oh, it's Punisher, don't do that. But if you were to actually tell a big story, I honestly think that could get them like really big Emmy talk, or even like I don't think an Oscar. I don't think Punisher's going to be a movie, but even like that, if you were to make it like a Joker, where whether you like Joker or not, it's about a serious real world issue, right, with mental health. If they were to take Punisher and do that, man, that'd be great. But at the same time, if they just want to make him Spider-Man the animated series, where he's kind of also like a monster hunter just taking down criminals, that's fine. Family Clay just mentioned here as far as they changed the character recently to a sword guy now, and that is true. And he also has a new logo. It sucks, but he has a new logo, and I get why they changed it, right? If I like Frank Castle more than the logo. So if they came to me, even if he was not wearing any logo, just say, we're going to do Frank Castle, but we don't want to have any of that stuff because it's affiliated with bad things. That's fine. Frank Castle's a great character. He's a tragic character, but he is an important character in Marvel lore, and they could really do something special with him. And John Bernthal, not that he didn't get a bad shake because he got many shots at it at Netflix, but he could just bring so much more. Whenever I think of Punisher, I see him. I remember that was another like Oscar Isaac Moon Knight one where I said Bernthal has to be Punisher, and I was like, hashtag Travis told you, and it happened. So can Punisher be from a different country, says Fanboy Clay? That could open up a whole nother can of worms too, right? You could do that, but then it's just like, I guess what, you take him from another country, you take his guns away, his logo away. Now again, that's all more, the character's more important, but you do start to strip it. It looks very less like the Punisher, but you could do that the same way Moon Knight was in England. So I wouldn't be opposed to that. I still want him to pal around with these street characters, because that's one of the best dynamics of some of the, heroes. Just like Cap will not talk to this man because Punisher respects Captain America, but Captain America's like, you're a fucking maniac. Like, you can't be on this team. Like, I can't trust you to do the right thing. And I think everyone talks about Wolverine's always loose cannon. He is, not to the way compared to Punisher. And I love Wolverine, but even Wolverine has a heart and stuff. Frank Castle fucking lost his heart. It's gone. It's stomped over, and he just sees the worst of people. He still has a heart. He's still a good person, but it's buried deep, deep down in there. And another country, yeah, you could do that. But again, eventually he's going to go to America, right? I would assume. I guess he's just pounding around Black Knight and stuff like that, and Union Jack. But maybe, let's see here. S-Bubs, they could do the Tom Hardy Venom thing and not use the logo, but still keep the color scheme. What I was just saying, yeah, absolutely. And I would be bummed, but I'm like, that's the way to do it. Because do you want to sell the Punisher logo at the Disney Store Avengers Con coming up? Probably not. Jay Howden says, I do have a lot of hope for Punisher and Bernthal return, because he said multiple times he would only return if it was dark and gritty like before. So if we do that, we know it's going to be good. And that's the double play though, Jay, because I was going to bring that up. You took the words out of my mouth. Is that a true statement? Because I took it as it all depends on the pitch, right? And what it is. If it's Disney-fied or whatever, and even Disney-fied, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Disney-fied can be just to set it in the MCU, right? If it is that way, and Bernthal comes back, then it's just like, hey, he was just saying shit, and he wanted to, yeah, I just want to be played the right way, that's the only way I'm gonna do it. Like he's kind of saving face, and then he's gonna collect a paycheck, or he's just playing right? Or they did give him a good pitch, and he said, hey, like I really like Punisher, but what are you guys wanting to do with it? Because if it's this route, you know, respect you guys, love you guys, maybe do something else in the MCU, but for this, find someone else. And that's the thing. We're gonna find out, was Bernthal a liar? And I don't even think a liar. I just think I think there is a way to bring back the essence of the character in a PG-13 route. I just would always say the same thing I say with Daredevil, right? It's just manage expectations. Just even if it's the same actor, pretend it is a new writer on a comic book. Where there's many times they'll come up and they'll fuck up your character. The art looks different. They're a little they make some jokes, or maybe they're more serious. Take it like that first. Don't take it if Bernthal comes back as, oh, we're getting a follow-up to the Netflix show. Don't do that. Because they might, if they full on say that, then you can judge somebody. Even with Daredevil, they haven't said that. It's just Daredevil born again, right? The same actor playing him. At any point, they could, Feige come up to him and be like, yeah, that's multiverse stuff. I know there's some connections, but it's, the Netflix stuff is what if. This is the real continuity. So have that in mind. I personally still think if Deadpool was PG-13, I'd want Reynolds. The same way if Bernthal is, if Punisher is a little toned down and it is a PG-13 sort of range, I'm fine with that. Because Bernthal is fantastic. Let's see. Sam Wilson Cat Punisher would be a crazy movie episode in New World Order. I that's what Family Clay says. New World Order. Let me take it. You give me an opportunity to drink and think about that. Punisher, New World Order. Hey. I think it depends on two things. What are the characters in it? Because if it's the whole Falcon Winter Soldier gang with the new Falcon and Bucky and what's her name, Sharon Carter, I'd say no, because we might be getting too stuffed. If not, there's a chance. There's a chance. Obviously, get that war bond. I think that would be a good way to bring them in, and you can kind of take some of that, Steve Rogers being against Falcon Frank, and put that on Sam. So it could work, but here's the other thing. If the villain's like Red Skull, that's where I go, I'm out. So to me, it's like, who's in it and who's the villain? Because I think Red Skull, I guess you could make the case, right, of Punisher's going to hunt down some Nazis and stuff like that. So it's not a stretch. I could still see it, but I would think maybe with Red Skull might get a bit more fantastical, because he's going to have to come back alive, or it's his daughter or something like that, or he's coming from a fucking, what was that planet? Vormir. There's a lot of fantastical stuff there. So when the check clears, Disney Plus Punisher, we'll see if he's lying. And that's 100%. And I want it. Like I said, that's the one last one. I loved all the people. Okay, almost all. Obviously not Iron Fist and everything like that. I liked him enough. I think he got a bad rep. Also, the show wasn't the greatest. But to me, and I love Krysten Ritter, and that's pretty much happening. So it's like the four pillars. To me, it was Cox and then Bernthal. Absolutely love Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin, right? Didn't like what they did with Hawkeye, but you could watch Daredevil and be like, that's a great send off that character. I don't need to see it again. I'm always down for more. What we got in Hawkeye, I think was a combination of goofy and rushed. So that was a problem for me, but I'm willing to see more with Echo and everything like that. Bernthal, to me, he's that last one. I even put that above Jackman, because I know people have that a lot. It's like, oh, well, they got to bring Jackman in. I don't have that. I'm the same way as D'Onofrio. If he comes in as a multiverse what if character, sure. But he got a great send off. I don't really need any more from him. I want, as I always say, I want Hugh Jackman in Deadpool, not Wolverine. Not Wolverine played by Hugh Jackman. I just want Hugh Jackman. I think there's tons of fun things they could do there. But alas, we'll see. We'll see. She tweeted this out, so that probably means they're talking. And I do think if you were to ask me, Fanboy Clay with the New World Order, it's not a bad pick. I still think it's Daredevil. I think it's funny that he would debut twice there, but they could kind of make it that they already have a connection of sorts. And 18 episodes, to me, I know people like a lot of filler. There's definitely going to be some filler, but I took that as you're going to have multiple characters like a Jessica Jones, like Kingpin, like a Punisher, maybe others coming into the show. I think they're going to fill it a lot with a different, even Moon Knight, to be honest, a lot of street level. I guess he's in London now, but who knows where the fuck he's ended up now? Who knows what Jake is doing right now? So we'll see if that ends up being true. So let's take another ad break. We're talking about some box office, so we'll be right back. And we're back. So Super Pets, which I'm about to go see. I'm very excited. My daughters are excited. So I can't wait. You'll get a review of that tomorrow. And that's what's going to happen too on Trash Told You, where there's going to be certain movies where if I used to like the Gray Man review separately, I'm just going to throw it in a newscast. But I will cut it out, put it on the review feed. Don't you worry, folks. I guess I forgot to say, head down links below. Everything's there. Audio, video, Discord, Patreon, where to find our separate feeds, our podcast network. Lots of great stuff popping off right now. But Super Pets came in now. It doesn't sound that bad when you hear about it, but came in 2 million below expectations. To me, it's not that it came in 2 million because I think that happened with Thor: Love and Thunder, but it's still like, okay, 25 to 23. You're pretty much in the ballpark. Of course, you want to exceed that. You always want to exceed expectations, but still, it's like, okay, you're in the ballpark. I think this is a bigger thing where we've talked about this a few times. I talked about this on the vodka stream, and now it's just we were talking about Super Pets, and I can't remember. I'm not trying to throw shade at them or anything like that, but when we were talking about the vodka stream, someone had brought up that they thought, oh, Super Pets would outdo Lightyear, and I went, oh, absolutely not. And Lightyear had like this lighter opening, right? So even Lightyear, that was the biggest movie. Let's go all the way back to the pandemic. These kids movies come out, and they're all seeming like they're about 30 or under. I actually don't know if one had passed 30, but like Bad Guys had like a 24 million. It's like, oh, this is huge. But it's like when you look at it, it's like, it's not that big. It's just because nothing else was coming out. It's number one. And then the next week and still nothing else was out. It's like, oh, it's number one again. You look, it's like 12 million. You're like, all right, like that's great. Make that money, Bad Guys. But still, it's Lightyear came out and was below expectations by, I think, quite a bit, right? I think it was supposed to be like 70 million. It came like a 55, somewhere in there. Should have my homework on specific numbers. I'll get better. But somewhere in there, right? It was a modest hit and then kind of didn't do the race box office. Minion comes out, crushes it, doing really well. That's the only outlier of having this big opening. I think it had a roughly the same or just a little higher than the original Minion. So that was like, okay, this is the thing where all these other kids movies haven't been the biggest brands. But if you take a lot of those too that were the dual releases, if they're like a home video and theater, take those out because tons of people are watching home theater and then some of them are probably torrenting, streaming. Just go the pure theatrical. Lightyear disappoints. Like, okay, what's Minions gonna do? Minions comes out huge, everything like that. So you're like, okay, maybe kids movies are back. You get Super Pets, which honestly, 25 million to me as expectation is very low. And hey, we're speaking about Batman. Jay Howden says, off topic, but I only found your podcast when the Batman came out. I've been hooked ever since. Mate, your podcast get me through a night shift. Thank you so much. Oh, thank you very much, Jay. I appreciate it. I've been there at my current job. I can't listen to podcasts, but trust me, I had jobs where time just fucking slowed down. And there's so many podcasts that got me through those shifts and landscaping. When I had to weed and just sit in the garden, just pluck. Oh my God. So, that's my favorite compliment is, hey, you're getting me through work shift. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for choosing us to be one of those. And we're doing lots of content, so hopefully there's something there for you. But speaking of, and Family says Lightyear was prediction 70-51. So yeah, that's to me more of a 2 million under expectations. Not too bad. Almost 20 million. You're like, oof, that's kind of tough. And that was the question: did Lightyear underperform because it's a family movie or because it's Lightyear? Seeming more just because it's Lightyear. Whether we want to talk about marketing, etc. It's kind of like Solo where everyone lists like 5 different reasons of like people were confused, people thought it was on Disney Plus, whatever. Either way, it disappointed, right? I love the movie. I think it's on Disney Plus now. I can't wait to watch it again. I guess I shouldn't have said love, but I really enjoy the movie. So, but speaking like Joe's talking about Batman, 25 million to me is very low. And not even because you do have people in there. You have The Rock, you got Kevin Hart, you got Keanu Reeves, you got John Krasinski, and there's even other, I think Kate McKinnon's in there. You got a bunch of names in there. So it's the reverse where you look at the Bad Guys, no IP, but had a bunch of names that helped. Or you look at this where you could have just had the IP and no names, and I thought that would help. I thought the combo of some names, some big names too, I just even think like Keanu playing Batman, I thought was gonna be such a bigger thing. Like I remember when he was casted as Duke Kaboom in Toy Story 4, and obviously that's $1 billion movie. But I just felt like people were like, this is fucking awesome. Like he's Duke Kaboom, this is gonna be fun, and that's like a character we didn't even know. Like that's that's somebody that we have no preference for other than he's an evil Knievel knockoff. But when he gets cast as Batman, There's nothing. SBOs, what's the budget for Super Pets? Just the voice actors only, must pump that up. I'll have to look at that. I bet it's a pretty penny. And what I was saying though, so you got that voice cast, and then you got characters. Like, it's not like I guess it's weird because some people are being like, oh, look at DC, just attach their name to, like, this shit type of movie. It's a fucking kids movie. It's a family movie. Like, it doesn't have to be anything like crazy. Of course, we want them to be the best of best, but it's like, oh, making this cheap, like, kind of cash and thing. Sometimes there's always hate hearing that because every movie's a cash in. Every movie's made. There's the people behind it that have the passion, and then there's the developers, producers, the companies are like, yeah, how much could we get this for? What is it worth to us? Like, all these are products, right? So to me, what would have been cheaper is if the animation looked really shit, which to me it doesn't. There might be some design choices, but it doesn't. And then I'm gonna see what the quality of the movie is tonight. But also, just if it was just the pets alone with a few mentions of the characters, you go, oh, okay, it's kind of just like a little, yeah, it's just the pets over here, but you don't get to see superheroes. There's been so many posters, teasers, trailers with these heroes. Now, I'm sure they're not the main characters. I'm sure they're in there a little bit, but you're showing off Superman, you're showing off Batman, and that same thing. I know Scott Mendelson for the Twitter world posts that like, oh, Superman can't draw. You can't really say that because they had Batman and Wonder Woman all over this marketing as well, and Flash. So it's just like, then you can just say DC doesn't draw, right? So I don't think that's the case, and that's what I was talking about. And I'll even bring up SPUB's question here, but I was talking about on the Fall stream, I was talking about Scott from there, who's hosted charity streams. A good guy, rival of mine, but a good guy. But about just what is going on with family movies in general. And SBOB, so you can go to Patreon and send in a question. Obviously, if you're in live chat, you can get in there. Thank you very much for supporting us. But you can send a question in advance at any tier. Do you think so many family films being available streaming services like Disney Plus and Netflix for free with subscription instead of having to buy tickets to see a new movie in theaters is what has affected the box office the most? I think that is definitely a portion of it. I think it's one of these things where it's similar to what I just said with Solo and Lightyear, which Clay informed me Lightyear had a $200 million budget, so woof. Espo says you can't use the kids movie argument for it being bad when the Lego movie exists. Exactly, right? And that was another one too that was like kind of below expectations, which is funny. 90 million plus let's see, so 90 million plus marketing, or sorry, I butcher that 3 times in a row. Let's go again. Super Pets budget, 90 plus million, thanks to Clay, or minus marketing stuff. So that's the thing where, yeah, because marketing, it's going to be a lot more. This all changed when COVID happened, right? And it's one of these things where I think you still got families where you got, I don't know what it is exactly, because like here in Canada, they've like approved vaccines for 5-year-olds and they're trying to do under and stuff like that. So if it's people still feeling iffy about going out, but I feel like lots of people are pretty much past that point. I do, whether it's a good or bad thing. I feel like they're past that point. I do agree with people that the family movie thing got conditioned to streaming, right? And I do think that was a factor with Lightyear where lots of people just think it's on Disney Plus, and then if it's not, they know it's going to drop pretty quickly. Stuff is dropping so fast. I think I've said this already on the podcast. I couldn't believe that Jurassic World Dominion was just like on my streaming Google TV, whatever, just like 40 day. I think it was the 45 window, but still, it's like this movie's still making good money in the box office. I do think next year people might start pushing it to like a 60-day window, because we've seen multiple films plus 45 still making good chunks of money. That Top Gun, Everything Everywhere All at Once, like it's showing that again. Most movies, the majority, yeah, that 45-day window. But if you get a hit, you keep it going. But that's there. The Black Phone was like under 3 weeks. It's nuts, right? And Lightyear, it's August 1st. It's already on streaming, right? So that's definitely one. I think COVID's one of, still the family, big groups of people and stuff like that. And I think it is something that I'm on tour with Scott. Check out DC Squadcast, among the other things he does. Inflation is a big thing because now these are family movies, right? And COVID happened and a lot of shit changed in the world and a lot of things went up price wise and a lot of people were out of work. And that's one of the saddest things too, is a lot of people are also just like lost businesses. Like there's so many people around Kelowna where I live. It's just like, I was a baker and then this happened and I can't be. I was this and I can't be anymore. Like I feel very lucky with the job I'm in because I'm in the government health system, and that's always obviously going to be a thing. And it's just, I do feel bad, especially for people that it was their fucking dream to do something. And maybe they were doing well or just starting and this thing just came by. Obviously, I feel worse for other people lost people as well. Of course, I'm not saying that, but I just make from a kind of first world level as you had a dream, you started something like, man, like you can't do that anymore. And I think it just hurt a lot of people's wallets and yes, inflation. So we talked about this where like today we're going to Super Pets, right? We always get popcorn with the kids because they don't go to the same movies we do. They don't always go to like the obviously horror movies, all the Marvel movies, DC movies. It's a select few, Like I took Gwen to Shang-Chi and Thor, didn't take her in Multiverse Madness for obvious reasons. So when they go, it's a treat. It's an event. It's a night out, right? It's a fun time, fun with the family. And that's always the most stuff, right? And it all depends on where you have, but Ellie is going to be turning 1 in a month here or so. Eventually I will have 5 of us going to the movie theaters. If we have more kids, then my God, it's going to be even more. But as right now, even if we stop, that's 5. You got to pay for your tickets and you got to pay for popcorn. And one bowl of popcorn is not going to be enough. It's not going to be enough. You got to get a drink. You got some, I don't know how it works in the States. Some theaters here offer refills and some don't. Now the ones that offer refills, you got to be part of a movie club, which I am because I can get points and I get free tickets. So it's worth it for me. And I do have like a little bit of, I see these movies because it's my part-time job, right? And again, breaking the fourth wall, I can technically write off these tickets. I like not all of them. I can only write off mine. I can say, hey, because that's part of my job. It's like anything. If you're at work and I need a pencil, you can write that off because you need it for your job. I cannot do this podcast unless I go see said movie, watch said show, play said game. So I'm at a benefit there. And that's other tons of people that are higher than me that just get this shit for free or screeners and things like that, right? So you talk about people that don't do this for a job, don't have anything like that. It's a lot of money. It's tons of money and it's tough to keep up with. And it is when they're coming to streaming so fast. It's like, as I was saying, why spend maybe even like with tickets and everything, why spend anywhere from maybe $80 to $120 when you could wait till it gets at home, buy it for $20 and buy your own popcorn? Now, home popcorn is nowhere fucking near as good as movie theater popcorn, all right? I'm always going to be that guy. And my kids now, because they're my kids, I think they're going to be just kind of bred with this movie loving thing. It's in the family. I'm a huge fan of the visual storytelling medium, right? That's my poetry. That's my books and stuff like that. So they're going to have that growing up. But not all families are like that. And yeah, why wouldn't you wait 45 days to watch Lightyear Disney Plus, do a popcorn movie night, and you're going to spend probably less than half, if not even less than what you would at the movie theaters. And that's not counting gas as well. That's not counting if you don't have family, a sitter perhaps. It's a lot. It's a big kind of ask. So I don't know what they're going to do. It's going to be very interesting. I think they're going to be a lot more, because obviously with animation, a lot of these things happen where Wise Trash Hands dropped me this article. I'm excited to pick it up in a second. So if there's some big breaking news, I'll look into it. So thank you very much while I'm live. This happens to me all the time. But if they continue to go down this route, it's going to be tough because they're going to be really picky and choosy. Animation takes years, right? So there's a lot of things like that Strange New Worlds thing coming out, or Strange Worlds. That's already happening for Disney. But it's going to be down the line. It's going to be, are there going to be more sequels? Is there going to be more like a spin-offs like Lightyear? But even like Lightyear, that wasn't a proven commodity. So I don't know what they're going to do to fix it. I think obviously, like if you have a big brand like Minions that work, but it's just going to have to be good stories. Or man, I hope we don't go the way of, them just primarily being streaming. Now I get it, because if there's no money there, that's the thing. And eventually my kids will grow up and see these other movies with me, but it's still a fun time. Like tonight, they're excited. I want to go see this movie with them and have a good time. I loved seeing that with my parents, right? So I don't know. We will see what's happening. Thor, I'm trying to think of any other updates. Thor's, I think it's on its way to become bigger than Ragnarok domestically. So it's not going to be overall. There's no China. But again, for a movie that it's such a fun narrative that people are dropping, it's dropped massively and it's big. Yeah, it did have its second biggest MCU drop, but these drops are big because it has a big opening and it's making lots of money. There will be, unfortunately for you people that hated it, there will probably be a Thor 5 with Taika Waititi, because it's just been proven. I don't think there's anything else really much more to mention with the box office. That was the only one. This week, Bullet Train comes out, and I'm interested to see how that does. Because we're seeing a screening, and they're pushing them out there because I think they feel positive about the movie. I just don't see anybody seeing it. And I feel like that's one of these like a family movie. If you want to talk about something that's on streaming, that just like, oh, wait till streaming. Bullet Train is like a perfect scenario of, yeah, I can wait. So we'll see. But yeah, let's take another ad break and we'll be right back. And we're back. So this is something that I call the quick hits. You like that name? I hope so. I had nothing else. Let's see here. Actually, let me answer some of the chat here while I was gone here. Let's see. Espo says Black Phone was on POD after a week. It felt like, yeah, I was shocked when I saw it on my TV. I was like, really? Jay Hound, Doc Strange and Black Widow came on Disney Plus so fast. Yeah, and I think that's because Black Widow. Well, Black Widow was, remember, you could do the joint buying, but in Doctor Strange, even then, I thought it came like because that's what I almost subscribed to. It had that big drop, right? And it's like, oh, it's probably because of that. But when you look at the movie, it's a fucking $900 million movie, still like in pandemic times, almost $1 billion. We're like, oh yeah, look at that big drop. It's like box office has changed the way it goes now. Do you have an unlimited card system in Canada? No, so we may have multiple, but in BC where I am, there's two kind of movie subscriptions for theaters. There's Cine Club, and I think it's like Movie Club or something. So there's Cinemark or there's Landmark and Cineplex. So I have the two separate ones. I get a free movie every month, and then I get points on top of that. So every time I'm spending popcorn, things like that, it goes towards that. So like today, that's why it's not too bad for me. My ticket for the podcast, I buy it always separately to write it off. And then today I have points tickets. So that's one down. And then I have my free monthly ticket. That's one down. So we're only paying for one child ticket. So it's not that bad. And it pays off and everything like that. So when they get older, maybe Emily will also have to get one as well. But that's what we have here. We had a thing called Cinemia for a while that was like a movie pass, but that also crashed and burned and like owed a lot of people money and stuff like that. And it was a terrible, they would actually like be canceling your tickets just to make sure you didn't use them too much. It was really shitty and everything like that. So let's see. They'll be with you for the A24 Phase 7 releases. Yeah, I wonder. That's a good article. Like, yeah, see, and Travis Hines, he's in Canada Landmark. What's that? Because he only has Cineplex. So we at least have the two. And we have a cheap theater as well. I can't remember what it's called, but it's like when movies have been out for 3 months and you can see them for $2 or something like that. But terrible speakers there. Yeah, what A24 movie are we going to show my kids first? I don't know. That's gonna be interesting. They're gonna listen to this. Definitely, I'll have to pick something that I at least enjoy, but we'll see what they get into. But let's see. Zazie Beetz is in it, so I'm gonna go see it. Are you talking about Superpets? If she is, great, because I didn't know that. Who was playing Lois Lane as well? Someone tell me. It was someone where I'm like, oh, that makes sense. S-Bubs was 90 days until Disney Plus, and it gets lots of hype when it was released on stream, so I felt like it was a good amount. Yeah, 90 days. Like I think 90 Days works because Shang-Chi was such a bigger one. I still think they should play with 60 days and see where that goes, but 90 wouldn't be bad, or 75. I just think the 45 might be too small. Like, we'll have to see what Warner Brothers does, right? Because they've been doing that with the Batman, and same thing. The Batman came on, was a huge thing for them, pumped a lot of like numbers and stuff, but still it was 45 days. But it was kind of, that movie was going lower on its box office run, so we'll see. But anyways, back to what I was saying, the quick hits. That's all I had for this segment. And this is going to be news that's going around that I don't have too much to add on, but just enough that I want to mention. Oh, Olivia Wilde is Lois Lane. Thank you very much. And Zazie Beetz is in Bullet Train. Oh yeah, that cast is fucking stat, but that's another good one. But quick hits is just either some small trailers, something that would not be a main talk, but I'll just talk about quickly. So Cars, there's a Disney Plus Cars series. Fuck Cars. Devotion trailer. So Devotion, this is a movie that it's so funny that Glenn Powell is playing another fighter pilot. It's him and Jonathan Majors. I usually don't. I like war movies enough, but there's nothing in this trailer, at least the idea of it, that I need to see, right? But this cast is what is going to drive me to see it. It's them. I think they're definitely playing up some. There's going to be some race issues as well. It feels like Jonathan Majors is playing this guy who's really good, but he's dealing with a bunch of white assholes, and it's in I can't remember what era it's in. It's an older, like, it's the old school, like aviator, like planes and stuff like that. And once I started watching the trailer, as well, I was like, actually, you know what? This is looking quite good. It's still something that if they weren't in there, I might be like, oh, this looks quite good. I'll wait for streaming. I don't know if I'll see it, but this is a part of the TIFF lineup, and 100% Top Gun Origins. He literally looks at Glenn Powell, says, I want you to be my wingman, you know? And I know he's Hangman, but still, it's like, that's the whole thing. But I liked the trailer, and it's that cast. Those two together, gonna be like, Majors is just gonna be on such a run. I'm so happy for that dude. Like, he's gonna have such a career these next 3 to 5 years. My God, he's gonna be. And it's just that's the thing that always. I know I'm not trying to be a downer, but that's just the thing that makes me so sad about like Heath Ledger, where after Dark Knight, his career would have fucking skyrocketed, you know. And he already was a big star, but just like how much was missed there, and that's how I feel about Majors. It's like awesome, you're gonna go on and just kill it, and he's a great actor too. And every time I've seen him, seems like a good guy. So this is one because it's in TIFF. The reviews are gonna come out, and you never know. Sometimes you see this great plot, and it's like, oh, I can't wait, and it comes out, it's like a bunch of 6 out of 10s. Be like, yeah, it's fine, and you find the critics you trust, and then if I feel the same, or if they feel the same way about movies I like, and they're kind of saying, you could wait, I usually will, unless there's something I have to see or there's not many movies out. So I think that I will see this at some point based on kind of word of mouth, but I probably will see it in theaters if the word of mouth's good and it's these two. If it wasn't these two, I'd probably still skip it because it's just not a genre I need to see. But Jay Howden, on our previous topic, in England we get this thing called an unlimited card where I pay £18 a month and I get to go see unlimited movies, hence the name. Oof, I would love that. I would love that. I one time, our movie theater, Landmark Hines, they had a contest. If you got every Oscar winner right that year, you got a pass, and every movie you saw was free. You could see one movie a day, and it was free the whole year. And I fucking won it because I killed that Oscar pool. And yeah, it was a good time. But then they got rid of it because I think they knew how much money they lost. Because I think they thought, oh yeah, somebody. This is before the podcast. This is like Trav's origins. But like, oh, somebody like nice will take their kid to it, see a movie once. Well, it's like, this guy's fucking abusing. Like, he saw Django Unchained 3 times in a week. Like, it's not happening. Get it out of there. So. Espo says, that's how I got around to watching Cha-Cha Real Smooth. Lots of good reviews coming out from Sundance. And yeah, to me, it's just, I've never been that person of the, fucking Rotten Tomatoes and all the critics love it. It's like, yes, there are asshole critics. Yes, there are stuck up ones, but there's also tons that are just movie fans that work at these websites. And I guarantee you, if you did a top 10 list, probably half of those movies are positive on, Rotten Tomatoes. Like, people fucking talk about the original trilogy all the time. It's like, those are highly regarded movies. It's just, because what happens is there's a movie they are really looking forward to, they see in the theaters they love, and they see the Rotten Tomatoes score, and all of a sudden Rotten Tomatoes is fucking the worst thing in the world. And they get mad at Rotten Tomatoes. It's a fucking website that just collects reviews. Now, I guess you could argue like, I don't like how they do it, but it's just like, it's just an algorithm of like what people have thought. And if people still know, I'm like, I fucking hate Rotten Tomatoes, and the critics just like, I don't know, dude. It's just... whatever. It's such the littlest type of shit, and it's always the people that say they don't care are the ones that are always still talking about it. It's like Xbox versus PlayStation, Marvel versus DC. It's like, yeah, we talk about them in a fun sports way, but the people that are still in those wars, entrenched in them since I was 18, like Andor, they need some help there because it's just for fun. But yes, Hesbubs, thank you for recommending Cha-Cha Real Smooth. I'm gonna see it. I want to because I've heard good things. You coming out of Dominion, but yeah, because I want to see that Crimes of Future. So I got a few films I'm gonna catch up on while I'm off work here, and maybe I'll incorporate in the podcast here. Another one, Jared Leto has joined Haunted Mansion as the Hatbox Ghost. Cool. I don't know if he's gonna be like the villain. I know. So here's the thing, and I'm gonna sound like a hypocrite, right? Yeah, the SNES versus Sega Wars. Yeah, how did that work out for Sega Heinz? How did that work out? But Haunted Mansion, my favorite ride in Disney World, Disneyland, whatever. I've only been there 3 times in general because I live in Canada. Lots of money. Give me more expensive. I don't even know when I'm going to go with my kids. I'm going to have to sell like half my shit just to go to Disney World one day. But Haunted Mansion is my favorite. I'm a horror guy. So I know they're like, hat boxing will have like this big role. I can't remember. Oh, they said, yeah, he has a massive role in the attraction. I can't remember specifically that. I'm not someone in the American States, the United States of America gets to go all the time. So I was like, I'll take out the word. Cool. Like Jared Leto's like a good enough actor. I was gonna say fun enough. I don't know if that's the right enough word. It's a weird choice, I think, for him. I don't know if he has a big role. It's also a weird choice. Maybe it's because that Tron sequel fell apart, and they're like, you could be in Haunted Mansion. So cool. It's always good to add talent. He could play a weird type of spooky kooky individual, I guess. I just care about this movie want to be good because I remember as a kid going to Disney World, going to Disneyland. Had been there twice at that point, right? They announced Pirates of the Caribbean. I'm like, they're fucking doing a Pirates of the Caribbean movie based on the ride. Hell yeah. And then I saw Pirates of the Caribbean. Hell yeah. That juice was all over. And Haunted Mansion's coming out. Oh, hell yeah. You get that movie. Oh no. And that was in that time frame. It was around, I think I talked about that 2004, 2006, where I was finally as like a youth starting to dislike movies. Because at that point you just watched everything. Pretty much, but like everything just nerdy, geeky, superhero, stuff like that was in your genre and you just loved it, no matter what, right? That was when we're like, this is super disappointing. So I hope it's good. You got Tiffany Haddish, you got Owen Wilson, you got Danny DeVito. Again, it's leaning pretty comedic. The first one had Eddie Murphy, so I hope it's not too comedic. I don't know. I don't got my hopes up. I just got my I'm hoping it's good, but I don't have hopes that it will be good. I actually don't know who's directing it. I don't know if they have any credibility or whatnot, but when's that Scarlett Johansson Tower of Terror movie coming? Oh boy. They said they were still doing her after that lawsuit, right? But they're probably just being nice. I don't know. That was such a weird pitch. I'd watch it. The original was fine. I'd watch it, but we'll see. Jay Hound says, only I go see a movie and form my own opinion, then I look at reviews just to see what other people think. I don't want to sway my opinion, And that's absolutely a good way to do it. I used to be, before the podcast, probably a few years in the podcast too, was second reviews come out. I would I had my 6 to 10 podcasters listen to everything they said. Now, every once in a while, I listen to a review before. Obviously, with Twitter, you see headlines all the time, right? So you can't avoid them, but because you kind of know the vibe going in. But specific reviews, I really don't, unless it is something that it's a particular movie or something I am like, should I see this? Now with the podcast, I'm pretty much seeing most movies to review them or talk about them. But before, when I was like, oh, I could skip this, like, should I see this? So, and again, I go to my, now it's probably lower. It's more like 3 to 6, where before it was 6 to 10. I go to the people I trust and like their reviews. And now, not unfortunately, but it's just like, I joke about this all the time. Most of the reviews I listen to are from my friends. Now, yes, because we started podcast network and stuff like that, we are like working and they're their own podcasters, but they still, they're still my friends. So it's just like, I just listen to what my friends think about it, So that's the way I do it. The other reason I stopped listening is just because even in non-spoilers, some people were just not good enough at like doing the non-spoiler stuff. When they give you like that Frozen spoiler, like where it's like, it's not a spoiler, but once you see the movie, you put it together because you saw someone give you the breadcrumbs a little bit, So, and finally, my last piece on the quick hits is Sylvester Stallone. And maybe during quick hits, I don't think there's been any news that broke. I did see that article that you dropped, Hines, about him saying that nothing's changed with his Power Rangers I'm Power Ranger. I'm reading something Clay sent me. Nothing's changed with his Batman. He says not mine, which is like strange. As he says, he notes that the Flash movie, this is gonna be in quick hits here. The writing was actually really good, so I thought, why not? It's cool to drop in. I'm curious to see if I can pull it off. And then he also said, was there some changes to your Batman? He says, well, not mine. Or the quote was, no, how do you feel about the changes about Batman over time? And he said, not mine. So I really don't know what's going on with Batman, because we get all these reports that he's not killing, and I don't want Batman to kill, but if he says not mine, you would just assume that Batman's still just murking dudes, right? So we'll see. Lots of interesting stuff happening. Originally, the Batman, Aquaman, Keaton stuff was going to be the main topic of today, and not just because like DC is covering it, go check them out tonight, but the Andor trailer dropped, and that bumped it. But I still have more to say on that, because when we reported that was just, Ben Affleck's joined Aquaman, and then now it's been like, oh well, now it's he replaced Keaton in the end credit scene. It's like, oh well, really, actually it's not an end credit scene, it's actually a plot point in the movie and stuff like that. So there's more meat on that bone. So check out DC Alliance, and if there's no main topic, I might actually cover that tomorrow. So we'll see. But the last topic is Sylvester Stallone and this Rocky business, right? So, oh boy, this is like a controversial topic. It shouldn't be, but it is at the same time, because of like my views. So here we go. Take a drink before. He, a couple weeks ago, says, hey, I really want my rights back. I created the character. And he did, right? If you don't know, he wrote Rocky, sold to the studio, wrote, directed it, won an Oscar, all this stuff. But he said, I'd really like the rights back. I'd like it if, when I pass away, they go into my kids. They announced this Drago spin-off movie that I really don't have much interest in. I like Drago enough, but I don't think I need a movie of it. He also gets on his Instagram or Twitter and talks about, oh, they're just trying to get water from a stone, all this sort of things, right? And then what's his name? Dolph Lundgren put out some topic like, oh, it was just in talks. I got to talk with my boy Sly. I'm always in his corner and stuff. And the people are like, yeah, he's standing behind Sylvester Stallone. I remember when, what's his name? Jensen Ackles did that to Jared Padalecki. I think that's how you say his name. I don't watch that show. But there was this thing where Jensen was producing a prequel. Jared didn't know about it, broke the trades, and Jared was pretty upset about it. And Jensen's like, oh, yeah, my boy, we're going to talk and figure it out. It made it sound like it was like a kind of like a nothing deal. Now, it sounds like they're over now. They've talked. They said they've apologized, whether it's real or not. But it was like, yeah, no, you were just hiding this from him. And you're just trying to say in public, like, oh, we're going to get this figured out. Don't you worry. Just misunderstanding. Shouldn't have been out there. Because, like, yeah, because you were working on it. Because it's also like, what else is Dolph Lundgren working on? It's so tough, right? Because I feel like I'm always the heel when this comes up. And I don't disagree with people when they bring up the Marvel DC that the creators need to be paid better. I don't. But at the same time, it's a iffy situation legally because I think Brent's always said it right. Morally, they should do something. Legally, there's nothing you'd need to do. Marvel hired you to come write this character, come write a story. They paid you for that story already. And yes, now they're making millions off it, but that's why you always got to look into your contract, your signing. That's why when we started GeekVerse Podcast as a small business, we all sat down and talked specifically how payouts are going to work, how money's going to work, all this stuff. So there's no people get paid the same for the work because here inside baseball we didn't want someone okay, the Batman, which at one point was our biggest day one, right? Everyone on the podcast knows that's going to get more than if I review Gray Man. So if it's like everyone just skips everything else then jumps on the Batman for that big payout, that's not right. But then if the Gray Man shoots and becomes super big, then I'm like, oh look, that thing I agreed upon before, well, it got really big, I deserve all the money now. It's a lot different with Disney. That's a $1 billion corporation. I think, yeah, they should pay and make some better deals or just some credits. Give them a cameos, then you can pay them that way, whatever it may be. I think there is some, poor stuff to it, but at the end of the day, that happened. At the end of the day with this, Sylvester Stallone sold the character and the rights. That's it. Unfortunately, you made that deal. And the thing is that you can make the argument if he goes to him, says, I want you to make this movie. And say, oh, the only way we're going to make this movie is we get the rights. And he says no. There's an argument if he says no and he keeps them and, the dude's like, okay, good luck, have fun elsewhere. And nothing ever happens. There's a chance him selling Rocky never gives him the career life he has. And I know that's not the way he feels. And I know that's the way that you could also, I'm not in his perspective. I am a business owner now, but like that's the way if I sell GeekVerse, it's gone. It is, if that ever happened, even if I was like in a Dana White role where I'm like the head, it's like once that happens, decisions go that way. It's the same way as I always try, fourth wall again. People are probably in the chat watching it. With GUA, we always try to take input, everything like that with scheduling, everything, right? But at the end of the day, for some shows, not all the shows, we've talked about before that there's shows that we own and shows we don't. That's like a licensing deal, right? The shows we own, if we're saying, hey, you're going to do this or that for a day or content, or hey, could we go early this day or go late that day? No. And that's, most of the time. It doesn't really happen, but most times, like, no, that, like, this is the way it has to be for X, Y, and Z. You're this day because of this. We're doing it this way because of that. Yeah, So it's the same thing here where, like, as I've said, it's like Lucas getting mad at Star Wars new stuff. Shouldn't have sold it then. I never liked that. You can say, hey, I don't like what they're doing, but it's their thing. Same way with fans. Just take his trilogies and just forget the other stuff. That's your canon. All the rest of the stuff is what if, So I get it. I wonder if it'd be like, yeah, we'll sell you the rights back. You just can't get any money. Like if there could be some sort of way like, yeah, you have some rights, but is that it? That's more just a money thing. And maybe they'll cut them a check so they can do more. I don't know, but it's just, you sold it. That was it, right? It's the same way if you agree to some or a job. You agree to do that job, and if you don't like it, then quit. And I'm not saying don't quit because some jobs are shit. And if people are taking advantage of you, that's different. This, as far as I know, is not being taken advantage. So I don't know. I don't really care about the Drago spinoff. Not one I need, whether it's Dolph or the Son, but whatever. So, maybe because I'm not, maybe not because I think Stallone cares more about Rocky. And he might, and that's the thing where it's just like, does he care, or is he just annoyed that he's seeing Creed made and Drago made and all this stuff, and he's not getting a piece of the pie? You never know with these people, right? So let's take one last ad break. This will give you, if you're not a fan of wrestling, I've covered all the entertainment stuff. I'll be back the next day. We're going to get into the gimmick, and I'm going to talk about SummerSlam. And for non-wrestling people, I feel like you might want to hear me at least talk about Vince McMahon, because that's always a big story. But if not, be back tomorrow. Been lots of fun. Let's take our last ad break, and we'll be right back. And we're back. So excuse me as I type. I have to do this because there's no one else to do it. Usually I throw and I'm like, oh, Taylor, talk about this topic. And then I get in there, write some breaks, write some times and cutoffs, everything. Not this time. So SummerSlam 2022, that happened. Okay, mate, I've got to go now. Okay, mate, I've got to go now. So enjoy your cinema trip. I'll catch you in the next stream. Thank you very much. Thank you to everyone that tuned in. It's good to have some people in there. I know it's like a midday stream. That's why I want to do 3, because that's a bit more later for the East Coast people, but it's just the way it worked out today. SummerSlam. I'm a big wrestling guy. I had a wrestling show in about 2 or 3 episodes. I've always said it's a dream goal. One day I will bring, I don't think that show back. I think I'll have a new sort of thing. But I want to, at some point, always talk about wrestling. It's a big passion of mine. Love it. I was ready to do a Thought Bubbles, Travis told you now, about Vince McMahon 2 weeks ago. But that was during Nope and Comic-Con, all this stuff. And I want to talk about it. But man, what a fucking change of reality, right? What a crazy world we live in. The fact that Vince McMahon is now out. And I would have never, ever thought, if you were to ask me as far as like, hey, when do you think Vince is going to leave? When he's dead. From him, from reports, everything. But no, a scandal here, a scandal there, takes you down. Obviously, lots of money. And it's this interesting thing where, not saying interesting, but I guess intriguing thing where he used money. He technically didn't use company money, but because he filed it like for a company policy sort of deal, that's where it's like, well, you can't do that because that's not a business relation, that's a personal thing. So he's out, and now you got Triple H, and I won't get into all that because it's a bit more older news, right? But you got Triple H, who created this great product. I remember, for wrestling fans, I think you'll probably know this story. It was WrestleMania. I hate that they took away the numbers because I never remember them. San Francisco, and Seth Rollins did a big cash in, right? They had a NXT event that was just in like a gym. It was the fucking coolest thing ever. There's no cameras, nothing. It was just, they're going to do this. And it was like a bigger arena and like a bigger gym or something like that. And it's like, we're just going to do this event because WrestleMania is 10. Let's see what happens. And one of the most hot firecracker, it was probably a couple thousand people, not like WrestleMania, like 80. It was just a couple thousand people. But it was, you could just feel it. And I remember that's how hyped I was, because I was going back and forth, and you can see what ended up happening. I was going back and forth. I remember I looked over to Emma like, I'm going to be a fucking wrestler, because my whole life I wanted to be a wrestler. And after this, I was like, because this felt like such a change of the business. Now, a few years later, once we start talking about kids, there's 2 things happening. One, the product was going down, and with wrestling being the only game in the company, or WWE, I didn't really like that product. So it's like, why? And there was tons of other ones, right? But that was always the dream, is that, or a big company. My goal is to do the reverse, how people, become a wrestler and then get famous in Hollywood. I want to do the reverse, get famous podcasting or movies, then jump into wrestling, like what Logan Paul's doing. But that's why we do backyard wrestling as well. But either way, there was that. And also it's just that, hey, we're about to have kids, and some people can do that, especially now you've heard me talk about the podcast, missing kids and grow up time. I think I would have hated life. That would have been the absolute worst. And respect to people that can do that, even actors, actresses that, I'm filming for 6 months, my family's there. Even if and that's why we hopefully want to create a GeekVerse Studios for film, I would make it that it would work a lot better, because I just couldn't do that, and that's where it was. I was starting to train. I was talking to a school. We were ready to move somewhere, but not last minute, but I just thought about, I just can't do it. I just couldn't, knowing there'd be, my life at home, the wife at home, kid, couldn't. So, but he created this thing that made me want to go, man. But even then, as a fan, like, well, at least I got something to watch. AEW happened, New Japan happened. I've told that whole story about how I jumped over there, and I stopped watching WWE full time because it was just, people would always say that to me when I'm like, oh, you're gonna stop watching wrestling. No, I didn't want to. It's just that was shit. And then another company came around. But now that's a whole other podcast. And maybe when I start a wrestling podcast, I'll do that origin story again. Triple H, his son-in-law, is in there. The guy that kind of created what you'd be referred to as the black and gold era of NXT, which was a developmental brand, but it was like this brand that's supposed to develop stars is getting better than the big one. And then they cut out the funding, they cut out the support, everything for lots of various reasons. Then Triple H has health issues and he was kind of out. Well, scandal happened, Vince is gone, and that's such a tough thing to talk about because it's like you have this guy who gave me like between like movies, like superhero stuff, Star Wars and wrestling. These are those four, and even I guess Star Wars I'll put in the films. The top three things of love my life as far as media. I might have watched more wrestling than I have of films or read more than like I watch wrestling so much and I love wrestling, and it sucked to have that void like gone. But also like Vince McMahon, he created a monster and he really got that going and really propelled it into the forefront. But then he's also been a very shady individual over years, right? But then also it's like you respect his business acumen because it's just like the guy's a beast, right? And I look at so much stuff he's done, it's like, yeah, I want to have that sort of level of not success but just like motivation and stuff. But then just that's the other thing where it's like there's a varying degree of, hey, these two people had an affair and he gave her money to not say anything. You kind of go, well, they're two adults, and if he didn't do anything illegally, that's up to them, right? But it's still like, why are you paying anything? And then there's other cases where it's like, it's more than just pay. It's kind of like a abusing your boss relationship of like firing people for not doing certain acts and stuff, or like assumed or alleged. So it's very tough. It's very tricky, like all these cases are, right? When you get a actor or someone you like and this happens. But Triple H now, Stephanie's co-CEO, and now Triple H is head of creative, which is funny because at first people are like, oh, I don't know if he's going to do that because he's talent relations. And if you don't know, that's the guy who looks after the guys and gals as far as contracts, recruiting stuff. So there's the idea that maybe he won't do that anymore. But the fact that he is now head of creative, which I loved and I want it. I love AEW. And if I can have WWE back in my life and have two wrestling companies I can watch again, Emily's not going to be happy because she didn't want that much wrestling back in her life. But if I can get that, man, I'm very happy. And from SummerSlam, what I can see, that's going to happen. There's rumors that Raw, and while by the time people are listening to this, if you're wrestling fans, it's already happened, but it's supposed to be like a statement show, right? SummerSlam, I thought was a pretty good, like a solid 7.5 out of 10 pay-per-view. But the reason you might be like, oh, why if it's 7.5, why are you so excited? Because most of that was already booked before him, and it's like a director taking over another film, to put it to the film perspective fan. It's like him taking over another film, like, okay, we're going to finish this out, got to do storylines, or a season of TV. But the next season or next sequel, fuck yeah. It's like J.J. Abrams and Ryan Johnson are like, fuck yeah, we're going my way. And even a few things as far as like creative choices and decisions he made, like take the opening match, and I'll quickly talk about the matches, and that will be the show. It was Becca versus Bianca. Fantastic match. Those ladies have such good fucking chemistry, and you know what? They turned a shit story into a good story. Becky came back last year. She was a good guy. She gave birth. She had a child. They did the storyline where Bianca's this great champion, kicking ass. Becky goes in for a handshake. She cheap shots her, hits the move, and pins her. So she like, not cheated, but like bad sportsmanship, right? And then jump 6 months later, WrestleMania, Bianca gets that title back, and now you're a year from that slap or the cheap shot, and then they have the match. Bianca wins again. Great match. Just they got so much chemistry. I could watch them wrestle. I don't know about every day, but every month for sure. You have that happen, and then at the end of the match, they shake hands, but for real this time. And it's so good because that's just where, for people to understand, like the little Triple H stuff, Becky's not wanted. The fans have not wanted to, and I guess I should clarify, I still watch WWE. I watch the pay-per-views, and I watch every once in a while if I hear there's a good match or when Cody Rhodes is on, because Cody Rhodes is my guy. I'm a Cody Rhodes guy. Every once in a while, it's just like people would just, not every once in a while, I mean, I would watch every once in a while, but the thing is just people don't want to boo Becky. They don't want to boo her at all. She was like this underdog character that went up. Why do we want to boo her? And they're just forced that. And apparently the rumor was she wanted to be a heel too. So it's like, okay, I guess there was so much people that she wanted to work with, but now we got these other characters coming in, and you had this handshake for real. So that's always the fan. Anytime a bad guy shakes a good guy's hand, that's okay, something's happening. She leaves the ring, and for non-wrestling fans, just a lot of cool people came back. But for wrestling fans, you had Bayley come back off injury. That's great, awesome hype moment. But then you had Dakota Kai and Io Shirai, who's now Io Sky. Don't like that, but that's fine. Two people, one that was on their way out and one that got released in the Vince era. And these are like Triple H's kids or talents, right? So right away you got women that the fans love that were released or about to be released, let go, that are super talented, that would probably just go to another company, make them money. You brought them back, and that was a hype moment. And then you get them in the ring, they're a faction, they're going to beat the shit out of Bianca, and then Becky, who is just a bad guy, less than 10 minutes ago, comes in, stands beside Bianca. It's like, you want to fight? You have 3 stories already of Bianca and Becky, that kind of bonding, and Becky turning face. You have a new stable for wrestling, non-wrestling fans. It's a group of people getting together, coming out. That's story 2. And then story 3, you got Becky and Bianca facing them down. Already just from that segment, they made me want to watch. I got to pull the card here, but they made me want to watch WWE again. And I'm not going to jump fully into it, but tonight after Super Pets, I'm going to watch Raw and SmackDown. And if they can have like a string of good shows, I can be back. And I just want to be back. I don't like hating on WWE. I don't like hating on wrestling. I want to love, it's like movies. I want to love all wrestling. It just, they became like the Sonyverse for a little bit. But let me pull up the card here. So, but that was really good. Good match. Let's see. Match results. Oh my God. How can I find? Okay. After that was Logan Paul and The Miz. Not a fan of Logan Paul. He's a piece of shit in real life, but he has like 6 million followers on Twitter, probably so many other millions other places. It's a business. I get it. It makes sense. The only thing I can say is a positive is there's 2 types of celebrities. One celebrity that's promoting someone that doesn't give a shit about wrestling, and ones that you can tell clearly love it. He clearly loves or at least appreciates it. He's putting in the work, so that's all I can ask. I'm never going to be a fan of the guy, but I can respect that he's put in the work. He is very skilled in the ring, which is good as far as the showmanship and the moves. There's a few he needs to work on, but still very good. I think that eventually he's a good guy right now. The real money, the fucking like fuck you money isn't making him a bad guy and cheating and everything like that. Like this good guy thing will only last for so long. And even the crowd was kind of booing him when the match started because he did so well. It's like, okay, let's give this guy a shot. But there's money. There's good fucking money in him being a heel, and one day they're gonna do that. Bobby Lashley defeated Theory, and I guess I should share some of my thoughts on some of these guys and whatnot because I haven't talked about the newer ones. Bobby Lashley is US champ, sure. Theory, I don't know, man. It's like everything's there for him to be a star, but something's missing. But I still enjoy him. I can see why he was pushed. I don't know. I think he's just going to be a good, almost like what the Miz was, maybe like a solid B tier guy, and maybe occasionally A tier. But I don't think he's going to be one of those pillars going forward. They got him as Mr. Money in the Bank. He's losing all the time. I think he's like 8 or 9-0 since he's lost it, or sorry, 0-8. Like he's lost those matches, and they do this where, oh, you got Money in the Bank, so you can lose a bunch. No, you should prop them up a little. They don't got to win everything, but it means more when they're winning and then they win the title, not just like some loser winning the title by fluke. But I also don't think he's winning the title, so it's fine. I'm gonna save this rant for another time because I don't know how much I'll be talking about. And overall, I should say these matches were all, the Logan Paul Miz one was good, a little long. The rest of these were like kind of fine to good. Mysterios versus Judgment Day, they botched that whole thing with him and Edge and this stable, if you know anything about it. The fact that we had AJ and Edge this dream match and they wasted it just to turn Edge heel, and now months later he's back to face, and the rumors was because they're going to make the stable supernatural, and then they decided to change their minds. I thought there was more money in. Now, I was not watching the Raws when that was going on. A lot of people were saying Judgment Day wasn't working, so I don't know. But hopefully they make some chicken salad out of this chicken shit. Pat McAfee defeated Harry Corbin. Happy Corbin. I like McAfee. I don't think I need to see him wrestle twice a year every year, or even more than that. I like him enough, but I don't know. It was a fun match. It gets the crowd going. That's about it. Usos, Street Profits, they got good chemistry. It was a good match. I've seen better from them. It was a good match. Liv Morgan versus Ronda Rousey. That was an interesting thing, but I suppose since I know nothing about wrestling, but I'll definitely listen to these things because it's like listening to a story with no context. Well, there you go. Well, here you go. Listen to this one, S-Bubs. So you have, if you don't know what this is, Money in the Bank. It's a thing where you can climb a ladder, you get a briefcase, and you can get a title shot at any time. So what usually people use it for is, let's say I just wrestled a match. I beat someone, but I'm so tired. I got nothing left in the tank. A person who's Money in the Bank can come down, cash in, and I got to wrestle right now. And usually you lose because you're taking advantage of a weak or injured opponent. Liv Morgan is this wrestler who is a fan favorite, very big underdog. She's like a smaller sized woman, but very skilled in the ring, but still she's always an underdog. And she's somebody that started as like, oh, she's fine, to like she's getting better. Fun character that's based on like some Euphoria vibe and stuff, versus Ronda Rousey, who I'm sure you know who Ronda Rousey is. They did the storyline where she cashed in on Ronda for the briefcase. Okay, so you got that going on. She took advantage of it. they're doing this rematch now. Like this time it's Ronda versus Liv, no cash in. Like Ronda's not gonna be injured, mano a mano. And the whole match is Ronda's kicking the shit out of her because she's the underdog and she's smaller. She's smaller. Liv's getting some shots in there, but she keeps going for her finisher, which is an armbar. Ronda, she's going for her armbar. And they do this thing where clearly, and S-Bubs and people that are new that won't know this, Vince McMahon just kind of has some sort of visions that are just weren't the greatest. And I think what the idea was just to have a fun cash in, get an exciting moment, and then the next month Ronda was probably just going to beat her, get the title back, move on. So I think now this regime does not want to do that. They want to keep the title and Liv because they see people are liking her with it. They've wanted her to have this title for a while. So they keep doing this armbar. I think Liv keeps getting out. So they do this finish that's happened a few times in wrestling, but it's where there's two ways, lots of ways, but really the main two ways you can win in a wrestling match is you pin your opponent's shoulders to the back, count them to 3, right? Or you make them tap out or say quit. So what they did is Ronda put her in an armbar. Liv flipped it, so her shoulders were down. Ronda's shoulders were down. So the ref's counting 1, 2, but at the same time, Liv Morgan taps out. So it's supposed to be kind of like a draw finish, right? Like, oh, you were pinned, but you made her tap out at the same time. So I don't know if this was on purpose. I don't know if Liv screwed it up or a botch. That's called in wrestling. It's 1, 2, Liv tapped, and then 3. Now, to me, that's not a tie. To me, that is. Clearly, there's no instant replay in wrestling, so that's the whole thing, and that maybe something will change. But if she tapped before the pin count, clearly Ronda won. She tapped before the 3, because if you were to see a tap, you would stop counting. So the idea is Ronda's pissed after the match, right? If it was a tie, I think this would work, but to me, it's still technically a tie. To me, it's like she tapped out, and what's happening is Ronda attacks Liv after the match, and she's turning heel. She's turning into bad guy. Attacks her, attacks a ref, attacks trainers. Like, she's just going off, right? She's running around. She's fucking pissed. Just beating people left, right, and center that are just innocents, that are just, trying to calm down the situation. So this is another step that you are a bad guy now. Bad girl, bad lady. But again, and sometimes people might say that's the best type of bad guy. But it's so much to the point where it's like, I don't know why I'm supposed to boo her now. Other than because we love Liv. Why am I supposed to boo Ronda, who, and we saw that she should have won this match. She tapped. So I wish that it was done a different way. I wish they would have just done a roll up or something, or maybe she tapped and the ref was down and didn't see it. I didn't exactly like it. Now I did say I need to see the follow up because Triple H he has the pencil now. And I think he can make it make sense and make it work. Usually you might go the other way where Liv turned heel, kind of got the cheap victory, but we'll see what happens. So I didn't love the angle, but I'm still open to it. And sometimes, the best bad guys are the ones with good reasons, but it's just also, I don't want to boo this woman. I do because I like Liv more and I don't care for Ronda that much, but I don't want to boo her on the reason of she got mad because the ref had a shit call. It's we get mad about that all the time in sports. It's sports, right? So, and then finally we had Roman Reigns, the cousin of Rock. There you go. Some tie into our movie stuff. Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar. Now, if you don't know anything about the story, like an S-Bubs, they have done this match a million times. I'm, of course, being over-exaggerated, but they've done this so many times where fans are just, and obviously there's lots of GA fans, like the GA fans that watch movies are like, yeah, I'll take anything. But with this, us fans are so over it, So the hope is this is a last man standing match, and it's the only way you can lose is you can't get up by the count of 10. So it's you're so hurt, you can't get up. You have to be standing on both feet. So hopefully, and they market this as the last match ever. Now, they might do this because apparently in real life, Brock, when he found out Vince was fired, left SmackDown, and he was not happy with it. He came back, probably because he wants the money, but he came back. But the idea is maybe this is his last match. And already before, they're the last time ever these two were fight. And I fucking hope so. But the match, it's funny. This was supposed to be kind of the finale. It was supposed to be at WrestleMania in the springtime last springtime. And it was a dud of the match. It was not good at main event WrestleMania. And it was this whole thing where, if you don't know, there's two brands, a Raw and a SmackDown, two separate superstars, two separate titles and stuff. So Brock was the main champion on one brand. Roman was the main champion on the other. This was the first time at WrestleMania to combine the titles and stuff like that. Roman won that. He's in what they're calling God mode. He is fucking fantastic. Obviously, he had years of trying to be pushed as a good guy. Did not want to be a good guy. The fans did not want him to be a good guy. He's a fantastic heel. He's just so good at everything he does, movements, what he says, facial stuff like that. So they do this match, and it was a really solid, good hitting match. I've seen a few matches with them like this already before. It doesn't top the WrestleMania 31 match. I was there live, and that was the WrestleMania I was forgetting. But it's really good. Would be a really fun send off. Actually, they did one spot which I couldn't believe. They took a tractor and to hurt Roman. He was in the ring, and they took a tractor and like lifted the ring, and he rolled off. There's very few times in wrestling I get to say I've never seen something before in my life, and that was one of those cases. Like, wow, that was new. It was a good match. I don't know who they're gonna have Roman beat him or beat Roman because he is just in God mode. I hope it is Cody. That'd be great. The rumors are it's gonna be Rock and Roman at WrestleMania, but I'm excited to see now with Triple H again with the pencil what he'll do with Roman. It's gonna be great, and I hope that Brock Lesnar and Roman is also done. I hope it's over. Van McClay says fuck Lesnar. Who knows what that may mean because Van McClay would say fuck a lot of people. I'm surprised he didn't say that during Kevin Hart, but I like Lesnar. There is a business aspect to him, but I'm completely fine if I never see him again. I think they've gotten most of it out of him, but he does always like pop a rating or pop like merch sales and stuff like that because he's a big star, right? But there's other things you can do with them now. But overall the show is good, and I think the biggest thing is the stuff in the middle was good to find. But the ending of the show and the beginning of the show were great, mostly 2 thumbs up, and that's what you want. Make them stay, like, come in happy and make them leave happy. So even though a bad guy win, you're still like, if you get a good match, you're happy about it, like a movie, right? So I'm really excited for Raw. I might actually talk about that. I might keep the gimmick segment going on. We'll see. I got AEW. I might because I got so much wrestling. And that's why at some point I want to start a wrestling podcast. But thank you, everyone, that tuned into this first episode of Trash Told You. I got to get ready. I'm going to shower because this room is hot. I'm going to see Super Pets, which I'm going to talk about tomorrow, and see what other news stories break and see what's going on in this daily cast. So thank you very much. And I promise to hear from you next. Not be boring.